What's going on, guys? Brian here from Level Down Games, joined, as always, by the luchador in red, El Francaro.
Hey, guys.
So, we recently got a preview code for a game called Empyre. It's Empyre Lords of the Sea Gates. This is on PC. We got the preview code on Steam. And we wanted to discuss this game a little bit. I'm the one that played it. I played it for a good chunk of time over the last couple days. El Francaro has not played this game. He's aware of the game. He's seen the trailers. He knows what this game is, kind of the premise behind it, but he's never played it. So for this discussion, I'm going to tell you guys about the game, my experience with the game, and all the while try to basically paint this picture to El Francaro what this game is about. Empyre, Lords of the Sea Gates, is a top-down isometric RPG. So think Diablo 1 and 2, or even 3 for some parts. It is different. Okay. It is different, though.
I was going to say, I saw no monsters that I can fight. No demons, no...
There are people. But also think like Baldur's Gate, or Pillars of Eternity, the one that we actually just watched for a recent episode of Game Oracles, that game that's, the one that talked about the pen and paper RPG. Think things like maybe Marvel Heroes. Maybe you're familiar with that one.
Or, of course I am. I'm the best. So three-quarter view?
Three-quarter view, looking down. You have to click to move your people around the map. There's a mechanic where the spacebar controls time, so you press the spacebar and it pauses time. That lets you actually scan the map, move around, plan your attacks. Like you can actually tell your people to go here, 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 and then you press space again. That actually resumes time, and then they go and perform all these actions.
That's cool.
That's how this one goes. And so this game takes place in a neo-Victorian New York around the year 1911, in which the entire city has been flooded by rising oceans, and the citizens must learn to live in a new reality where there is water everywhere, but none of it is possible to drink. So
that's the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner: water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink.
Exactly. So this whole premise, obviously taking place in 1911, is trying to somewhat foreshadow what could possibly happen here on Earth sometime in the next 100 years. Because they're saying if obviously the global temperature keeps rising slowly every single year, that eventually through the ice, the polar caps melting, the sea levels will rise and coastal cities will be flooded. Like your area will be underwater at some point if this continues, if the trend continues.
One great big, festering neon distraction. I have a suggestion to keep you all occupied. Learn to swim. Enema by Tool. That's what I bring to the party, guys. Yeah, it's true.
It's something that just inevitably.
It's a scary inevitability. The East Coast, the West Coast, they could be swallowed up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's maps you can look up online that show what will happen if the sea levels just rise by a certain amount. It'll show areas that actually get flooded. It's really cool to look and interesting to look into. I've actually researched it quite a bit just to see what areas actually will be underwater and what won't. But obviously, we don't know for sure when that's going to happen. science is a crazy thing. We can predict and we can think we know as much as we want, but we never can actually control Mother Nature. We have no idea what's actually going to happen until it happens. I mean, there are some things that happen that we didn't even expect. So, but this whole concept is really cool. So, like I said, the game's authenticity reflects scenes from New York during the 1900s. So legit, like the way New York would have looked over 100 years ago. While tying the storyline to current day themes, like we mentioned, such as global warming and the rising of the oceans. So just like I said, this concept of the game is really cool in theory. Everything seems like it would be really fun to play and it would just work. But it somewhat doesn't to me. And I don't know if it's just me. Obviously, I've played a lot of isometric RPGs. I played Pillars of Eternity. I'm a huge fan of that. I played the original Divinity. I cannot wait to play Divinity 2. I think that looks fantastic. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Diablo franchise, as are you. So it's not that I don't like isometric RPGs. This one just feels a little clunky to me. And so let me explain. When you start the game, you are basically looking at a party of 4 people. There's a... man, I forget what some of them are called. Like, there's an adventurer, so to speak, and his ability, when you're learning in the tutorial, his ability is that he can sense traps in a room, and he can actually sense guards when they're nearby, or enemies when they're nearby.
Also very much like the rogue in your Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah, it's similar to that, but he wasn't called a rogue. He was, it was like bodyguard or something. I forget exactly what his ability or class was called. There's another guy who is basically like a sharpshooter. He's the guy with a gun. He can pick people off from range. So he's, you know, your typical sniper or hunter or ranger, archer, whatever you want to call them. That type of character. You have another. So those are your 2 guys, and you also have 2 girls. The first girl, very much just kind of like a tank, so to speak. You know, she's just big burly girl. She makes it known that she just wants to beat people up, and you know, you go in and she has like really strong melee attacks, doesn't sneak around, just rushes right into the battle. Kind of the characters you like to type, you know,
that's always the way I play games.
And then the other girl, she is more like your rogue, like your thing like that. So she sneaks around. She can actually go about undetected, sneak up behind people, stab them, you know, stealthily attack to where it does more damage than normal, take people out in one hit, and basically get through areas without being seen.
It's like your spy or assassin class.
Right. So once you learn the tutorial, once you go through this tutorial, once you actually get an understanding of how the game works, you know, the controls, it doesn't, you know, obviously with this type of game, you cannot use a controller. If it lets you in the future, it wasn't enabled now, but I highly doubt that it's going to be having controller usage, because just there's so many things you have to use the keyboard for. Like I counted, I went through the key mapping, and there's like 26 or 30 actions that you have, and they're all mapped to individual keys. There's just not a controller that really has that many buttons, unless it looks one of those like, you know, amalgamations that are just hideous to hold or very uncomfortable. So once you get an understanding of what keys do what and how to play the game, you are supposed to pick one of these characters, and that's who you're going to play as throughout the game. So I chose the girl that sneaks. I chose the rogue because, I mean, my first playthrough, I wanted to kind of, you know, I selected normal. Like, there's 3 difficulties, easy, normal, and hard. So I just went with the middle-of-the-road normal difficulty to try this out. But I didn't want to, not really knowing or understanding a lot of what the game was going to throw at me, especially during this preview, I didn't want to just rush in and keep dying over and over. So I figured, at least by picking the assassin or the rogue or whatever her actual class is, that it would still let me get through it.
Okay.
So,
now, is there any reason that 4 New Yorkers are going out killing people other than, you know, typical New York life?
This isn't the Bronx. This isn't Harlem. I mean, it could be. I don't know. But no. So, yes, because resources are limited. Resources are scarce. Obviously, New York is flooded. You know, there's a food shortage. There's a water shortage. Like, drinkable water, you know, it's very hard to find. So the object of this game is to go out and actually seek resources, seek supplies.
In the 1880s and 1890s, New York entered a technological golden age and subsequent industrial boom. By 1889, New York's population had exploded to more than 5 million, making it the largest city the world had ever known. Life could not have been better in this metropolis of the future. Then came the Great Flood of 1899 and its destruction. No one knows why the waters came. The city's inhabitants had little choice but to flee. But some stayed, and before long, the government had lost all control. Neighborhoods were left to fend for themselves, creating and enforcing their own laws within their borders. After years of anarchy, new city-states rose up to restore order. By 1905, a small measure of stability had returned. Some city-states even found ways to thrive. I will not say things were back to normal, for when was this place ever normal? Take Kassel city-state, founded by a mad Prussian admiral whose battleship blew up the Brooklyn Bridge in a botched invasion. Now it is 1911. New York City remains flooded. Its fractured collection of city-states face a new threat. The freshwater pipes have stopped flowing. Entire populations are on the brink of revolt. One such city-state, the Grand Tower, takes action to save its people.
So you're going out, Washington Square. Is that a famous place in New York?
Yes.
So one of the first people you meet, when you go to this, it's like your base or whatever. There's representatives there from Washington Square. So like it has all these, like, New York is basically sectioned off into individual areas, and these representatives from Washington Square are there to try and strike a working partnership with you. Things go south, they end up attacking the leader of your area. You have to defeat these guys, and you eventually start working with this other guy, and that basically is the premise of the setup, so to speak. And so combat wise, again, everything takes place, or everything is done through this pause resume mechanic of time. So for combat, you actually want to pause time, and then you can actually select what you want to do. Like if you want to move around, or if you want to sneak behind somebody and attack them. Or, I mean, the girl, she has pistols that she can use as well. So, I mean, if you want to stand back and shoot from afar, you can. But you can select the weapon you're going to use, select the target you're going to use, get all that, ready to go. And then you can actually resume time and then watch it all take place. So cool. There were a lot of things, though, that were missing in this preview build that the developers did say they were going to fix before the game comes out. Now, we previewed this game over a month, or, just around a month early. It's currently scheduled to release on Steam on October 4th. So we still have about a month to go. So there is still time to fix things. But some of the things that they mentioned that were specifically missing, there were a lot of animations missing in the game. So, things like just didn't seem like it flowed very well because, a certain action might have been missing, or a certain movement might not have been implemented into this version of the game yet. A lot of the light mapping was set to low, so there were a lot of lighting issues that were present throughout the different areas. Some areas seemed really dark, some areas just didn't really work as far as the lighting was going. The sound was very kind of bland. They did say that most of the sounds have been implemented into this build, but a lot of the levels have not been finalized. So some areas where there should be sound, there just wasn't. And again, that was just, like I said, just playing through it, it was kind of weird just because there might have been a trigger or something where maybe a sound cue or something was supposed to tip you off, and you don't really have any idea because you're not hearing it. And one of the things that I want to mention may be similar to that is I spent probably an hour just walking in circles in this one area because I had no idea where I was supposed to go. And like I said, some of the keys are, and some of the key mapping is really difficult to understand, especially just the way they did it. And I didn't spend time like remapping the keys or anything like that. I just went with the default build. But you can rotate the map around, obviously, but some of the doors are so well blended in that you don't really realize they're doors. And
okay, so
I walked around this area, like clicked around and walked around this area because I was supposed to find this particular person. And obviously I'm skating around spoilers because I don't know how much of this is spoiler territory and how much isn't. So you're supposed to find this particular person, and I'm walking around this area, just clicking around, not realizing that I keep walking past the door I'm supposed to go through because it doesn't look like a door. Like the actual graphics in the scenery, it blends in so well that it looks like it's part of the wall. But I could see, like, on the map, there's a blue dot in this particular section. Now, anything that you see blue on the map is supposed to direct you where to go. So if it's a blue dot, that means you're supposed to go to that particular portion of the map, and that's where the next thing takes place.
It's a waypoint, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, like, if you don't see it on your minimap, you might see like a blue arrow or like a blue thing saying, hey, you need to go down these stairs, or you need to progress to the next area. So anything that's blue is supposed to be an indicator of what to do. So I went to, I kept clicking on this area of the map where this blue dot was and trying to get my character to walk there, but she wouldn't go there either. So you have to, I kept clicking there, and she just kept walking in circles, and I had no idea what I was supposed to do. I was getting frustrated. So I started like clicking everywhere on the wall, and then I noticed in this one particular spot of the wall where this actual door is, the mouse cursor changes a little bit to resemble a door handle. And you have to click on the door to open the door. If you don't do that, the character won't know that. Even if you're clicking to tell her to go into the room that is beyond the door, she won't do it unless the door is open. So, like I said, the fact that the door is really blended into the scenery, blended into this wall, it made it hard to really know what you were supposed to do. Obviously,
now, was it a puzzle? Was it like a puzzle-wise, or just
no?
Or just bad? It was just bad lighting.
It was either just bad lighting. Like I said, obviously the light maps. They even mentioned specifically that they were set to low, so maybe there's going to be more lighting or specific lighting shining on this area to give an indication that this is what you're supposed to click on. But it just wasn't there. And if it's not a light map issue, if it's not an actual issue with the design, then it's just bad design, in my opinion. Now, there might be some people that realize it right away. Obviously, I don't claim to be the best at games. Obviously, I might just have missed.
I do.
Of course you do. But I just might have been missing this, like I said, just walking around, I was getting frustrated. It might have just been something that I was missing. But eventually, I found it just by clicking on this wall, because something has to, and I started thinking maybe it was a puzzle. So I started clicking on the bookshelf, clicking on plants, trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. And that's when I hovered over that section of the wall, and it's a very small section, but it turns into this door handle.
to be fair, lots of point and click games are that way.
I know.
Where you're combing every little, just trying to make your cursor change. So.
Right. So.
But like you said, yeah. Hopefully, this is something that they're well aware of, because it's just it's lighting error.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what it is to me too. But again, if it's not, then so be it. I'm sure other people will realize it right away what they're supposed to do. Some people might struggle like me. But obviously, once you figure that out, then the game starts progressing like normal. And I didn't really run into that anywhere else. So that's why I'm thinking maybe it was just a design issue with that particular wall or that particular door. I do think that a lot of old school PC RPG fans are going to have some fun with this game. Obviously, it feels like a throwback, so to speak. Like it definitely feels like it's coming from a time that is not the present time. Like, this feels like it could have been lifted from the late 90s or lifted from the early 2000s, brought to 2017 and dropped on us. So
now I know you're not really too familiar with the New York area, but like,
no.
Like when you went to these certain locations, did you look them up to see if they were accurate? Like,
I didn't, because
like Washington Square. Do you remember there being a big arch?
Everything is underwater, so you're basically.
The big arch should be the thing that you would see, ideally.
You're basically walking on the rooftops though of all these buildings. So
okay.
I don't know. I
don't know how high the water is.
Yeah, I mean it's supposedly pretty high. So to get around, you are walking on these rooftops of these buildings, and like everything, like your base, your homes, your living quarters, so to speak, are all fabricated on top of these rooftops. So like instead of living in the buildings, you're living on top of them. You still have shelter. I mean, they built walls, they built roofs up there and stuff, but they're a lot smaller, but you're living on top of these roofs in these buildings. It's like I said, it's a cool concept. We weren't able to take footage of the game for this preview build. They are supplying footage. So I'm, as you've been seeing during this video, I'm overlaying footage of the game through the official trailer, through videos that the company released to us to actually show what we're talking about. So you're still seeing the game. We have a bunch of screenshots that we were provided with, so I can actually kind of pinpoint and showcase certain things that I'm mentioning here. But I couldn't take my own footage from this preview build, but it is what it is. So it was cool though. Like there's this one. So like they have vending machines and stuff. So they tried to do different things from RPGs. So you can actually spend your currency at vending machines and find, items, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of upgrading mechanics involved. Like I said, I played for a few hours, found a couple different mechanics, different areas I went through. I think I could have kept going. I don't know that I kept playing through the entire thing. I don't know how much is actually unlocked. Because, like I said, I played it through probably a good 3 or 4 hours just to get a feel of this game, to figure out what was going on. Obviously, a good chunk of that was walking in circles, but but no, it's pretty cool. So I definitely think that this game is going to appeal to a certain subsect of people and certain subsect of gamers. I just don't know that I'm one of them. And I want to give this game a fair chance. I want to try it again when it actually physically releases, once the developers have had a chance to fix a lot of the issues that were in this preview build. Obviously, like I said, they know the stuff that they need to fix because they mentioned it before we even got the codes, before they sent these out. Hey, this is the stuff that's wrong. This is the stuff that you're going to notice is, going to give you an issue. So the fact that they already know means they're already working on the fixes. Maybe they already even have some of this implemented into the final build. It's just this preview build, which was probably done a few weeks or months ago, was not yet finished. So I want to give this game a fair chance once it's actually been released to see if things have been better, because it is a unique concept. I really like this whole premise of the game, this uniqueness that it has.
I want to check it out just for the, just the geography,
because being in New York, yeah.
Yeah, just to see, if they tried to keep it, true to it, because just the fact that you mentioned the place that I know, Famous Park.
Right.
Maybe, you can see the Empire State Building or the Chrysler Building. I mean, these are big buildings. You're going to...
Absolutely.
There's no way the water's going to go up that high.
No, I'm sure it doesn't. But, so you have the main quest you're going on, obviously, but then there are certain side quests. Like I said, it's a full-fledged RPG that has side quests. There was a couple that were implemented into the actual preview build. Like, they had this French circus side quest. They had where you could actually go down to a voting station and partake in one of the votes that was going on. So you could actually, like, play a part in the elections. So, they had these different quests that you could actually go on and do that just kind of separated themselves from the main story, from the monotony, from, just going from place to place, looking for supplies, looking for things, just doing combat. Like, there was things to break things up, which I thought was fun. I thought that was cool. But no, I definitely am interested in this game. I want to give it, like I said, I want to give it a fair chance when it releases, when they've had time to fix some of these things. But as it stands right now, I'm iffy on it. And that sucks because, like I said, I really do like the premise of this game. I think it's a super cool idea. But for right now, I'm going to play the wait and see game. And that's not a pun because of the rising sea. So we'll see. Like I said, I do think that this game has a fair chance of being successful. I do think it could be unique. It is unique. I think it could be good, though. Like I said, right now it's just average for me, but that could all change. And I do want you to give this a shot because obviously you play these games too.
These are the kind of games I play. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you're.
And I looked it up. A little quick El Francaro fact for this video.
Oh, there you go.
There will be no Empire State Building in this game because the Empire State Building was not completed until 1930.
There you go. So it's historically accurate.
So there you go.
Historically accurate. That's cool. But no, like I said, any fan of classic 90s isometric RPGs or early 2000 isometric RPGs should definitely keep an eye on this game, because like I said, it feels like it could have been lifted from that time period and dropped in 2017. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's up for you to decide. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have more coverage on this game leading up to the release, maybe even after the release as well, once El Franquero's had a chance to play it. So
all I'm saying is if they don't feature Canal Street in this game, they're missing a great opportunity.
Of course. Especially if it's not an actual canal.
It has. If it's not, it's going to break my heart.
So, okay, well, I think that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, we just kind of wanted to do a brief thing here on the game, which, again, this is called Empyre, Lords of the Sea Gates. It's releasing on October 4th on Steam for PC. Like I said, definitely keep an eye on this. Keep a lookout, especially if you're a fan of old school isometric RPGs. I think this might be something that you'd be interested in. So we will see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.